Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from City Tranquility. Welcome to day 6 of my 30 favorite albums of my high school years. It's back to school day, or back to school month, I should say. And we're all taking a look at some of our favorite albums, or 30 to be exact, because there's 30 days in September, from our high school years, right? The albums that we played the most, our favorite albums that we listened to all throughout our last 4 years of school before we either went out into the work world or went off to college or university, right? Which in most cases, we're looking at like age 14 to 18 or thereabouts, or maybe 13 to 17, however it might work where you were or, for yourself. But in many cases, these are the albums that kind of really, really make an impact on our lives and really stick with us for, the rest of our lives, right? I have chosen not to pick more than 2 albums per band or artist just to make it a little bit more interesting because, of course, with me, I could easily have just 5 bands on this list and that'll make up all 30, right? But I didn't want to do that. So I tried to, if there's a band that I just really loved a ton during that period and still really love a lot, I just picked out kind of like my 2 favorite albums that I listened to the most during that time period instead of doing 5 or 8 or whatever it might be, because in many cases that might have been the case, right? So, and basically how we're working this is each and every day I want you guys to put an album down below. If you want to comment on mine, that's good as well. And tell a little story about, why this album means so much to you and why it was made such an impact back in those 4 years. So this particular one was released in September of 1982. So this was the beginning of my junior year. All right. And I remember just I heard one of the songs from this album on the radio. Again, 101.5 WPDH in Poughkeepsie, New York, radio station that back in the day was really cool and played a lot of great album tracks from bands you didn't know, and that's just the way it went. This was before the whole classic rock thing, where basically rock radio played rock music, new and old. That's just the way it went. This was released on Mirage Records here in the U.S., and I'm going to show you the CD, although the album cover that I originally had on my vinyl copy was different. Gary Moore, Corridors of Power, is the album. All right, this the album cover that I had had like this purple like fog, and Gary was basically wearing the same outfit, but he was playing a Les Paul and he was standing on top of like a little tiny stage type of thing with the light behind it. Pretty striking. But the first song I heard on the radio was Always Gonna Love You, which is kind of like a ballad, like a piano ballad at first, and then it just turns cranking and heavy, and then the guitar solo comes in, and it's just like, wow. I remember listening to the song, and I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever this is, and then all of a sudden, like, the big riffs kick in, and the guitar solo comes in, and I was like, wow, who the hell is that? And then the DJ announced that that's Gary Moore from his brand new album, Corridors of Power. I was like, holy crap, that's pretty good. I'm going to have to look for that. And then like a week later, I heard another song on the radio, which starts off with this ridiculous unaccompanied guitar solo. And the guy's doing, throughout the song and throughout the solo, he's doing all this whammy bar stuff and all this really fast picking and these, like air raid sirens and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, who is this? Like, that's another new song from Gary Moore's Corridors of Power album. And I'm like, holy shit, that guy again. I have to have this. And I went out and bought it. I found it at Record World in Middletown, New York, in the old Orange Plaza mall down in the basement, because they had it's a weird mall. You had the regular mall on top, all one level, and then they had a basement, which had like a selection of stores and like a Chinese restaurant, which was like a buffet restaurant. This was before the Chinese buffets were like a thing, way back when. It was like you would go, it's like a lunch line. You would go in, they would have all the food out, and you tell them what you want, they put it on your plate, you pay for it, sit down and eat, right? That was like right around the corner from the record store. And I went to Record World, got this record, and took it home, and wow, just blew my mind. Still to this day, I listen to this album, and it just like, so good. Don't Take Me for a Loser. Great hard rock song. And this album is very melodic and just amazing guitar solos and riffs. Always Gonna Love You, I already mentioned. You got Wishing Well, which is Gary's take on, of course, the great Free song. You've got Gonna Break My Heart Again, another melodic rock song. Then you got the real kind of sappy ballad, Falling in Love with You, which I've told this story before. I didn't really mind so much at the time. It's kind of a shitty song, but this was like the big kind of lovey-dovey song. It doesn't really fit on the album, and I used to always, like, when I was like dating girls in high school and even in, like, college and whatnot, I would always make mixtapes for girls that I was dating, and I would always throw that song on there. It's like, oh, this is this great guitar player I love. Here's this song you might like, and they go, oh, that's kind of a nice song, right? Then, of course, there's End of the World. Then you got the Hard Charging, Rockin' Every Night, Cold Hearted, another good, moody, kind of heavy rock song. And then I Can't Wait Until Tomorrow, which is just a big, bright, kind of positive energy song that just builds and builds and builds, and a terrific guitar solo to close out the song from Gary. It's a great album. He would go on to release Victims of the Future shortly thereafter this, which I also played a ton as well. But I'm going to pick this. This is the one that I kind of reached for the most. It was my first, and it's still, to this day, it's my favorite Gary Moore solo album. This is his second, actually. So again, this came out, like I said, in 1983, very early 1983. What did I say exactly? September. I'm sorry, 82, not 83. September 82. And the folks, of course, playing on this album: Tommy Iyer on keyboards, Neil Murray on bass, and Ian Pace on drums. Right. You also have John Sloman, who was in the band prior to this. He does some backing vocals on the album, co-lead vocals on End of the World by Jack Bruce. You got Bobby Cuisinart on drums on one track, Mo Foster plays bass on one track, and Don Airey does keyboards on one track. But the basis of the band was Gary Moore, Tommy Iyer, Neil Murray, and Ian Pace. So really good band. Terrific album. I miss Gary so much. Man, he became, with this album, one of my favorite guitar players of all time. And in those days, the guys that I was really listening to was him, Robin Trower, Tony Iommi, Michael Schenker, Uli Roth. Those are the guys that were Yngwie Malmsteen shortly thereafter. I got into big time. Richie Blackmore, of course. Those were my favorite guys. Blackmore, Moore, Schenker, Iommi, and Roth. And Trower. Those are the guys that I really, really listened to a ton during these 4 years. Listen to a lot of other guys, obviously, but those are my absolute favorites. So, Gary Moore, Corridors of Power is my pick for today, day 6. So, if you want to comment below on this very fine album, please do so, but also make sure you pick your number 6 here. Again, I'm not doing mine in any order. They're just kind of haphazardly. I'm just going through them all. I love all of them, so there's, to me, for me to rank these is like next to impossible because they all mean so much to me. So there you have it. So tomorrow we got another one. Day 7 is tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And don't forget, tonight we've got In the Prague Seat, going back to letters. So it's letter F for this week. So stay tuned for, we're all going to be talking about our favorite bands, prog bands that start with the letter F. So stay tuned tonight for that tonight. Boy, I can't speak this morning. And visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please click that like button before you leave. Very, very important. And also investigate the links below to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations and our merch page. We now also have, you can find on our merch page website, you can find links to get 4 of our shirts directly from Amazon. There's a big discount going on right now, so if you want to investigate that, the link is below. And we'll see you all tomorrow morning with another back-to-school day pick, revisiting our 30 favorites from our high school years. So till then, I'm Pete Pardo. Take care. Have a good one. Gary Moore. Yes, yes.